What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Backup Fantasy Sports. It is Thursday, August 11th. My name is Ewan, and today we will be doing a Game Week 2 preview for Fantasy Premier League. You can follow me on Twitter at UIN or you out, EUAN or you out, and you can like and subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, Overcast, and a bunch of other fun places. Today, I'll be going over how my team did in Game Week 1, the fixtures coming up in Game Week 2, some storylines to watch, transfers in, transfers out, and then we will wrap up and I will get out of your earbuds. So, last week, Game Week 1 deadline, teams were thrown out on Twitter. There were some big decisions made. Some went the right way, some went the wrong way. So how did my team end up? I went with the double Leicester goalkeepers. Couldn't resist that £8 million to get two goalkeepers in that might play. So I went with Ward and Everson there. At the back, I went with Reece James, Trent, Cancelo, Andy Robertson, Neco Williams. And in the midfield, it was Salah, Mount, Martinelli, Leon Bailey, and Andreas Pereira. And then up front, I went with Harry Kane over Erling Haaland, Gabriel Jesus, and Cameron Archer up top. So I ended up with a not so great 58 points. It was one above the average, but not exactly where you want to be after one game week. Salah captain with 24 points. Martinelli with a goal. He should have had two, to be honest. Jesus looked dangerous, but couldn't get a return. Kane, pretty unfortunate there with Spurs scoring 4 goals. You'd expect Harry Kane to get at least one return, and maybe things would be a lot different in the FPL Twitter community this week if he had gotten a return. The Liverpool double defense did not go well for me as they gave up 2 goals to Fulham. Cancelo and Reece James picked up clean sheets and bonus points, but also yellow cards. And the Leicester defense was not great. Just couldn't pass up that value. I'm just hoping for some save points at this point because they do not look all that great. And with Mason Mount, I'm willing to give him a couple more weeks, even though he did look a little disappointing against Everton. So, Game Week 2 fixtures. What have we got on Saturday? No Friday game this week. Saturday morning kicks off with Aston Villa Everton. And then in the afternoon games, we get Arsenal Leicester, Brighton Newcastle, Man City versus Bournemouth, Southampton Leeds, and then we have Brentford Man United as the late game. On Sunday, we've got Nottingham Forest versus West Ham, Chelsea versus Tottenham, and on Monday night, under the lights, we have Liverpool playing at Anfield for the first time this season, taking on Crystal Palace. Oh, and on Saturday, I forgot to say Wolves are playing Fulham. So, all of the stats that I mentioned in this podcast come from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. I signed up for the first time this year, and it is already well worth it. Love that site. Would highly recommend to anyone who is a little bit more than serious about Fantasy Premier League in 2022/2023. So moving on to the storylines here. Is Erling Haaland already inevitable? The new shiny toy in the Premier League started, got 2 goals versus West Ham. One of them was a penalty, so now he's on penalties as well, and we didn't know that before. That's phenomenal. He came away with 1.59 expected goals. He's already seen a price rise up to 11.6 million, so that happened on Sunday night. If you were going to go with the Kane to Haaland swap, you are now faced with either riding with Kane against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge or taking a hit to get in Haaland against Bournemouth, which I would highly recommend just because he is probably going to pay that off for you over the next 4 games as he has Bournemouth, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, and Nottingham Forest in the next 4. If you don't have him, hate to say that you have to get him, but it does feel that way. I was immediately having FOMO as soon as that game started. I started watching it. He looks so good already. Like the preseason narrative, I mean, I was just wrong, which is what you got to do in the fantasy content creator arena at times. Just take your lumps and move on. So I was happy to do that. I actually snagged Haaland on Sunday night before the price rise. So my team value is up 0.1 all of a sudden. And with Martinelli, it's up 0.2 actually. But yeah, like KDB and him looked like they had been playing together for 5 seasons already. It looked phenomenal. He was slicing and dicing through the West Ham defense, and he probably could have had a hat trick, and I would put some money down on him getting a couple of goals again versus Bournemouth. I write for rotoballer.com, and we do a weekly game week preview with the other soccer writers on there each week. And Mark Kiefer, my coworker over there at rotoballer.com, said that the record for opening season goals from a debut player in the Premier League is 30 goals. And he doesn't know if Haaland's going to get to there, but I would put my money on him smashing that record by a few goals at least. On Twitter, Big Man Bakar, who is on the FPL pod or the FPL Wire pod, he does a great game week threads before each game week. He came away with this tweet. He said, league ranks for Haaland after game week 1. Shots in the box, first. Big chances, first. Expected goals, first. Expected goal involvements, first. Non-penalty expected goal involvements, first. So yeah, it does already feel like, the difference between my 58 points and being a little bit higher up in the ranks is choosing Kane over Haaland. Obviously there's a couple more decisions here or there that could have gone my way, but that is the biggest difference that I can see between my team and those teams on 70-ish points, 68 points kind of thing. So I bit the bullet, did it on Sunday night. I've got Haaland in my team, and I will come back to Harry Kane at some point this season, maybe once the Champions League schedule gets underway with a lot of rotation happening. He may be more nailed onto the Tottenham lineup card than Haaland is, but that is a wait and see. What were the biggest surprises from game week 1? I have 3 or 4 right here. With first one's going to be Dejan Kulusevski, a goal and an assist for the man from Sweden. 36 touches in the final third. That's fantastic. 45 bonus points, or 45 points in the bonus point system that FPL uses. That was 3rd overall. He's quickly becoming the most popular £8 million midfielder in the game. His price has already increased this week from 8 to 8.1. So some people will be priced out of him already. And yeah, he looked great. He continued right where he left off last season, where he was just on fire during the second half after he came over from Juventus. The only thing to consider is Richarlison will be back after suspension. Pretty curious to see how Antonio Conte lines up in game week 2, if he rotates the squad, if at all, versus Chelsea. The post-match comments that the Spurs head coach made, it made it seem like in game week 1, he wanted to reward the team that earned Champions League football and give them a start with game week 1. But it was a phenomenal performance from Tottenham. Son Heung-min, Harry Kane still looked sharp even though he didn't get an attacking return, but Kulusevski kind of stole the show. He had a great cross for their first goal, and then his goal that came in the box was well taken. His expected goals was a little low, but he still got one. He had a 0.73 expected goal involvement in game week 1, which is pretty dang good. So to come away with a goal and assist is great. So I wasn't really thinking about him all that much. I was a little bit worried that I was more focused on Perisic, Harry Kane, and Son for the Tottenham assets there. But then with Friday's revelation that Perisic might not start in game week 1, a lot of people scrambled. So to those who got Kulusevski in their lineup, good job by you. Next surprise was Fulham, who put two past my favorite team, Liverpool, as they got an opening day draw with the 2021-2022 runners-up in the Premier League. Mitrovic was spectacular. He was dominating. He looked exactly as advertised when he came up from the Championship with 46 goals last season. It really does look like Fulham play through him. Last time in the Premier League, he scored 3 times the whole season, and he's already got 2 in one game this year. 6.6 million now. He also saw a price increase this week. He led every player in the Premier League with 57 BPS in game week 1. I think he is a big reason that people are already thinking about going with 3 forwards. One of my coworkers this week, they activated their wild card. He's got Haaland, Mitrovic, and Nunez in his squad. And it could be moving from big at the back to big at the front, it looks like now, with those 3 leading the line. And talking about Nunez, he is my third surprise of the week. Surprise maybe is a little bit strong. I know a lot of people expected him to come in and have a good start to the Premier League, but he looked incredible. On Twitter, the expected goals philosophy has a great account. He tweets out the XG for every game after it's complete. He tweeted out last night, if he keeps going at his current rate, Darwin Nunez will accumulate 148.97 expected goals this season. Obviously, that's if he plays every minute for the rest of the season. Now, he's not going to do that, but it does show just how effective he was when he came on for those final 40 minutes. He looked powerful. He was linking up with Salah. He took his goal really well, found himself in the box all over the place. If you watch the highlights, watch the game in full, and it was just spectacular. I mean, no offense to Firmino, like, you've served us well. You've been a great ally of Anfield, but I think you will be on the bench for most of the season now if Nunez can stay fit. 4 attempts on goal, they all came in the box. I would expect him to be in the starting lineup on Monday night against Crystal Palace, and I would expect him to bag a return, especially with Mo Salah still going to be in that lineup, still dominating Crystal Palace like he always does. And I did have a 4th one here, Arsenal defenders, just a lot of stuff going on there to watch. Saliba, Zinchenko, very impressive performances against Crystal Palace on that opening game night last Friday. Definitely in my thoughts, but they might be a wild card target if I activate my wild card chip early on this season. So moving over to the biggest disappointments, no surprise here, Manchester United. It kind of looked like the same old song and dance for the Red Devils at Old Trafford with a disappointing 2-1 loss to Brighton. Bruno and Rashford had a couple of chances there. Ronaldo started on the bench, and for them, it's a wait and see for me with all of their attacking assets until, I want to say, I would like to be as patient to wait until after the transfer deadline to see who they bring in, who they put out, Ronaldo. But from game weeks 4 to 8, they have the 3rd easiest schedule on the Fantasy Football Scout fixture ticker with Southampton, Leicester, Arsenal, Crystal Palace, and Leeds in their 5 games after this Liverpool game in game week 3. Southampton, Leicester, and Crystal Palace are on the road. Arsenal and Leeds at home. So 3 road games, but to have the 3rd easiest schedule is definitely going to have Man United players in my thoughts. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to them because I had to burn that game week 1 free transfer on Haaland from Kane, but definitely something to watch. Obviously, it's just one game for the Erik ten Hag experience, but it didn't look all that great, and honestly, it could have been a couple of goals worse for United against Brighton there. Next up is Aston Villa. Even though they were on the road, a 2-0 loss to Bournemouth is unacceptable. You can't be losing games like that if you were hoping for to challenge for a European spot, even finish in the top half. You can't be dropping 3 points on the road to the newly promoted side. Blanks for Leon Bailey and Philippe Coutinho. They had Danny Ings starting over Watkins, and on the FPL Wire pod, those guys were talking about how the Villa fan forums were just absolutely livid at Stevie G's team selection, not understanding what he was doing there. So we will see if there are going to be any changes to the squad. I was perusing the Twitter net this morning and did see a Aston Villa prediction lineup with Leon Bailey and Philippe Coutinho on the bench for this week's contest against Everton, which would be disappointing as a Bailey owner because he did play all 90 minutes. I'm hoping to be patient with him, but we'll see if Gerrard makes any comments in his pre-match news conferences today or tomorrow. Next up, storyline-wise, is something that was dominating us, or all the headlines in the preseason was who is the best £8 million midfielder. So we've got Kulusevski, James Maddison, Bukayo Saka, Phil Foden, Luis Diaz, Mason Mount, and Riyad Mahrez. So Kulu led all of them with a 0.73 expected goal involvement. Next up was Maddison, who looked phenomenal. I said it in my Game Week 1 preview. Like I wanted Maddison. I had it in my gut. I was scared to not have double Chelsea against Everton for some reason. And it already feels awful, but I did say I wanted to see if Maddison would still be with Leicester through the transfer deadline, as there are still rumors of him going to Newcastle if the Toon Army can up their bid for the Leicester man. Next up was Saka with 0.37. So Kulusevski nearly doubled most of the field here. Phil Foden with 0.3, Luis Diaz with 0.2, and Mason Mount with a disappointing 0.15. Diaz did hit the post on one of his shots, and could have had a lot better day and he had another block from a Nunez header just towards the end of the game there. Penalty box touches, Kulu and Saka led the charge with 8 each, Foden 5, James Maddison 5, Mason Mount 4, Diaz 3, and Mahrez 3, but he only played 6 minutes, so that's encouraging. And then Maddison also led shots. He took 6 in total, 3 inside the box as well, so that led all of the £8 million midfielders. So what do we do with all of this information? Well, if you don't have to make the Kane to Haaland transfer, and you are looking to get off of a £8 million midfielder that disappointed. So say you had Mount or Mahrez, even if for some reason you're disappointed in Diaz, who I still thought looked pretty good. You just got to settle in with the side and see how this Nunez trio with him, Salah, and Darwin all looks together. So I think I would hold this week. I have Mason Mount. I've obviously already made the Kane to Haaland transfer, and I don't want to burn 4 points just to bring in another £8 million midfielder. I think more data is always a good thing, so I'm willing to see how Game Week 2 plays out and get another 90 minutes of information under all of our belts. I've already seen some people want to jump to Phil Foden for this week's clash against Bournemouth because he played on the right, and now it shows that he can play on the left and the right versus Bournemouth. But I think using a free transfer to get to Phil Foden, who is still a rotation risk with Man City, it's still Pep gonna Pep. I think it just seems like too lateral of a move. I think all of these guys are going to be great over the course of a season, and it will be interesting to see how we navigate. I think if Kulu all of a sudden gets pulled off in the 55th minute because Conte wants to give Richarlison some minutes, is he going to be out of our teams? If Mason Mount bags a couple of goals against Spurs here, he's going to shoot up. So it's just one game. It's really hard to not overreact to it because that's all the information that we have right now. But there's so much that can change this week. Kane could score 2 goals and Haaland could blank, and then I'm going to be one of those guys that's wow, I just made the totally wrong decision each time. So that's going to send us all hokey cokey, I think, if we are making too rash of a move as we navigate the season. Like I said, it's one game week. That's 90 minutes of football is all we have to go on right now, but that's not all we will have to go on. One more game week means we get double the data. Like, think about that. That's how easily this game can shift and turn this early in the year. Couple of more storylines would be, who are you going to captain this week? Is it going to be Salah or is it going to be Haaland? If you're one of the people that do not have either of these guys, you might just want to turn off your TVs all weekend. Go hiking in the mountains. Go camping. Stay away. I'm not sure you're going to survive this week if you don't have one of these two guys. A lot of narrative about how Mo Salah has never scored in game week 2. Oh my goodness. Well, he's playing Crystal Palace, and over the last 7 games against Crystal Palace, he has averaged 10.87 FPL points per game. Just going with some random coincidence that he's never scored in the second week of a season, or going with a track record of consistent success against a team that lost 2-0 at home on the opening weekend. I was about to say I would take Salah, but I am captaining Haaland, so that doesn't actually apply there. But would have no fear in captaining Salah. I just believe that I'm kind of jumping on the hype train here. Haaland just looked so good in game week 1. I can't get over. Like, if he did that to West Ham, who were a top 7 side last year, I can't imagine what he's going to do to Bournemouth. The last 5 games that Bournemouth have traveled to the Etihad, they have lost a combined 18-3. City have scored 18 goals in 5 games against this team, and they've only let in 3 goals against Bournemouth. So I'm going with the shiny new toy. I think with the week's rest, I think now is the time to take advantage of Haaland while we can. With all of this, with 6 days rest, 7 days rest, 8 days rest before the crazy Champions League schedule kicks off in game week 6, where we're going to be playing, teams are going to start playing 3 games in 7-8 days, and Haaland's going to get rested for some of these games. Mo Salah might not, Harry Kane might not. So I think right now is when you should take advantage of Haaland. Fit Haaland is right up there, 1B with Salah as 1A. Yes, that is in order because Salah is still my favorite player on my favorite team. So I'm going to be a little bit biased there. And final question here for game week 2 is, are you going to roll the transfer or use it? We've kind of been talking about it throughout the entire pod, but if you had Haaland and you have an £8 million midfielder that you want to get off of, honestly, I think you should roll it. I think you should keep that free transfer. Then you'll have 2 for game week 3, and you can navigate. You can pretty much do whatever you want with the FPL chessboard. I've already put myself in a corner. I had to get Haaland, in my opinion, and it's hopefully going to work out with a good result on Saturday against Bournemouth. Be trying to fit some time in on Saturday afternoon to watch that game. But I think for £8 million midfielders, I think even for the people that already want to get off Bailey or Neto to get to Aronson at Leeds, who looked very good, very promising, I think we can just wait like 90 minutes. We've only had 90 minutes of football. I said it earlier. With another 90 minutes on Saturday and Sunday and Monday, we're going to have double the data. And then we can I would honestly still wait for game week 3 because I don't think we will. It's very hard to tell what we can gain from 2 weeks. That's just how I am as a fantasy manager in general. I try not to overreact. I certainly did with Kane versus Haaland, so maybe that was a little bit of a lie. But I think everything I saw from Haaland on Sunday against West Ham just blew away all my preconceived notions, and I'm happy to admit that I was wrong. I don't think Kane is a bad play. With Chelsea coming up and Haaland having Bournemouth, it felt like I was being a little too stubborn if I stuck with Kane. I felt like I would be trying to prove myself right, even though I knew deep down that I was wrong. I didn't feel like that before game week 1. I genuinely felt like Kane was going to have a good game week 1 against Southampton. Makes sense. They won 4-1. It just didn't go Kane's way. But I was still in the back of my head. I was considering moving from Kane to Haaland just for this game week to get that Bournemouth matchup. And that's going to be it for game week 2. So I have made one transfer. I'm not going to take a hit. I'm just going to let it ride. I'm going to captain Haaland. I'm going to roll with a back four. I'm going to keep the Leicester goalkeeper. So I've got Ward at the back, Reece James, Trent, Cancelo, Andy Robertson at the back here. And then I will go with Mo Salah, Mason Mount, Gabriel Martinelli, and Leon Bailey. The Bailey versus Pereira could change depending on the press conferences. That's like the one decision I have going forward. I'm going to captain Erling Haaland, and I will still have Gabriel Jesus in my team against Leicester as they looked a little leaky at the back. So I've got 2 Arsenal attackers going against my goalies. So let's hope for 2 goal, 1 Martinelli goal, 1 Jesus goal, and about 9 saves for Ward from Leicester here. But that'll do it for game week 2. You can follow me on Twitter at UIN EUAN or you out. Don't forget to check out rotoballer.com and see what myself, Jamie Steed, and Mark Kiefer all had to say about the game week 2 preview. I will tweet that out. It's supposed to go live in about 4 hours, so 6 a.m. Eastern is when that article will go out, so I will tweet that out, so make sure to check it out. Once again, you can like and subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, Overcast, and anywhere else that you get your podcast. The Game Week 2 deadline is this Saturday, August 13th at 6 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. UK time, and 12 p.m. midday Germany for me. And I appreciate you listening. Looking forward to Game Week 2, getting more data. But good luck for the next slate of games over these 3 days, Saturday to Monday. And I will talk to you next time.